Hello, and thanks for watching another episode of News at the Pews, where you can count on unapologetic 2A advocacy. Gun rights are human rights. Friends, if you're the government and you're getting sued for making citizens wait forever, maybe it isn't smart to also make the judge wait forever. But attorneys for the Virgin Islands have apparently decided their strongest defense against allegations of bureaucratic incompetence is an immersive live demonstration. The U.S. Department of Justice sued the Virgin Islands in December, alleging unreasonable gun permit delays, an unconstitutional proper cause requirement, detailed safe storage dictates, and even home inspections. Then, in late June, government attorneys failed to respond to a preliminary injunction motion on time, prompting the court to order them to explain why they should not be sanctioned. That was merely the warm-up act. The Justice Department also served requests for admission and other discovery that were due on July 2nd. The government didn't even attempt to answer until July 8th. Under federal rules of civil procedure, unanswered requests for admission are automatically admitted when the deadline passes. So the government filed an emergency motion asking the court to freeze the briefing schedule and let it withdraw or amend the admissions created by its own failure to perform a task that literally had a due date printed on it. Judge Evan Rickhay denied the stay and wrote, "Regarding this inexcusable lapse, the court notes with disappointment defense counsel's glaring lack of attention to basic litigation procedures." That's about as close as a federal judge ever gets to saying, "I cannot believe these retards successfully located the courthouse." Losing a motion is one thing. Turning a scheduling error into a court-led performance review is something special. This isn't a decision on the merits, and the judge left them some room to argue that recent changes in Virgin Islands laws make certain admissions irrelevant, but they still managed to get publicly dragged for incompetence while defending a government accused of making ordinary people suffer from its incompetence. These people didn't merely step on a rake. They carefully positioned multiple rakes in a circle all around them, with the tines facing up, then tested them gingerly with the toe of their shoe, watched the tip of the handle rise slowly, then stomped on that sumbitch and took it right in the teeth. But hey, it would be impossible for me to produce quality 2A propaganda without you. So before I tell you which anti-gun attorney general has become so creatively bankrupt he's asking strangers to do his homework for free, a quick reminder that News of the Pews is a one-man newsroom. I research the stories, write the script, record the show, edit the video, and occasionally remember to sleep and eat sometime in between. And I do all of that without corporate influence. Mostly because nobody has offered to pay me, but still, this channel survives on support from viewers like you. So if you are in a comfortable place in life, please check out the shirts, mugs, stickers, and magnets at the link below, and of course right here. If you're not in a comfortable place though, don't spend money you don't have on stuff your family doesn't need. Just enjoy this 2A propaganda at the price of free fitty and keep praying for us. Connecticut Attorney General William Tong has apparently reached the final stage of gun control writer's block, crowdsourcing lawfare. His office issued a request for proposals seeking outside lawyers to help with investigations, litigation, and legislation targeting the firearms industry. Oh, and preferably for free. Connecticut's Attorney General already has hundreds of employees and dozens of attorneys, and Connecticut voters have not authorized any additional staff, but Tong really wants someone to help him harass lawful businesses. Now don't get me wrong, it's common, typical even, for an AG's office to reach out to private lawyers for help with difficult and complex cases, often pro bono. But this is different. They're not looking for help with a tough case. They're out of ideas and desperately want someone else to magic up a lawsuit to get these rotten gun people once and for all. The request specifically invites firms to suggest new opportunities under Connecticut's Firearms Industry Responsibility Act, Unfair Trade Practices Law, and Ghost Gun Law. Apparently, when your existing attacks on lawful businesses aren't producing enough oppression, the answer is to solicit fan fiction from ideologically compatible law firms. Now, to be clear, pro bono is only Tong's preference. The request says Connecticut may consider firms that want fees and expenses because even anti-gun ambulance chasers usually insist on getting paid. Tong's negotiating pitch is about as hard-nosed as a teenager asking for gas money. I guess if you can't do it for free, that's cool, I guess. Either way, the remarkable part is Tong isn't merely outsourcing labor, he is outsourcing imagination. Connecticut gave him an entire taxpayer-funded legal department and a shiny new statute for attacking individual liberty, and his first big idea was to ask whether anybody else has any ideas. Meanwhile, I have the distinct pleasure of telling you once again the ATF is up to something, and it doesn't seem terrible on the face of it. I understand if you need to sit down. As always, I remain suspicious, but the ATF has been surprisingly less malignant since Spam Blondie got the boot. In particular, F Troop proposed 3 separate rules that do not appear designed to make your life worse. The first deals with NFA devices manufactured for government contracts. Now, if somebody makes machine guns or silencers for a government contract and the government doesn't buy them all, what happens to those devices? Well, the manufacturer originally didn't have to enter them in the NFA registry because they were destined for the US government. But if they're already built and Uncle Sam doesn't buy them, manufacturers kind of left holding the bag because now they can't be registered. Kind of, in the normal way anyway. Manufacturers generally have to request a special variance, export them, or destroy perfectly serviceable items. ATF's proposal would give eligible manufacturers 15 days to register those rejected, residual, or repurposed firearms and then resell or reuse them where otherwise legal. Now, that doesn't repeal the Hughes Amendment or open the machine gun registry. Machine guns are still verboten to the plebes. All the other Gun Control Act and NFA restrictions still remain in place, but the machine guns can still be sold to local Praetorian Guards, I guess, and silencers, short barrel rifles, destructive devices, and other eligible items could be transferred to consumers. That opens a very real possibility of contract overruns on NFA devices, which is something that wouldn't have even been possible before. Cloners are gonna go nuts. The ATF's second proposal would let firearm applicants use a copy of an ordinary photo ID instead of obtaining a separate passport photograph when applying for a tax stamp. Also, individuals and responsible persons under the Gun Control Act would generally submit one fingerprint card, while responsible persons under the NFA would submit only when the ATF actually needs fingerprints to perform the background check. Apparently, someone finally discovered the government already issued you a card with your photograph on it. The third proposal addresses travelers carrying firearms aboard common or contract carriers such as buses, trains, and ferries. Federal law regulates delivering firearms to common carriers, but the language created uncertainty over whether merely boarding while retaining control of your firearm somehow counted as delivering it to the company. The ATF now proposes clarifying that if the weapon stays under your direct control throughout the trip, you have not delivered it to the carrier. Why does this matter? Well, the short answer is the Fourth Circuit went a little autistic and said that boarding a train while carrying a gun is delivering it to the carrier, and federal law requires you to notify the carrier when you do that. The ATF is just clarifying that riding a train is a very different act from shipping a gun. All 3 are proposed rules, not final rules, which means you can still comment on them, and none of them dismantle the regulatory regime itself. They're modest administrative improvements. But ATF has historically specialized in creating ambiguity and then punishing anyone who misunderstands, so 3 proposals reducing waste, paperwork, and legal uncertainty are worth acknowledging, even if they're not world-shaking. So I'm not ready to send F Troop a fruit basket, but I might stop sending them bags of poo and glitter. Well, friends, rounds complete on 2, but before I get to your moment of completion, I'd like to remind you this program was made possible by contributions from the William H. Crocker Foundation, E. Senior, Ozark Pilgrim, Squirted Glizzies, and viewers like you. I love you.